Hi, Don. You're back.
Hello.
So, yeah, we're going to get started. Thanks for coming. People are still siphoning in. So, thank you for joining. Thank you for those of you able to come in person. Thank you for those of you online. Lovely to see you. So, these three sessions Monday night are focused around Guru Yoga practice. Guru Yoga practice. I'll explain that. I spoke a little bit about it yesterday. Yoga, to yoke yourself, to bond yourself to the guru, the spiritual teacher. And we have a lot of concepts around what guru means. And it can be, I think, in Western countries, a scary word for people because we don't really understand the true essence of guru. I was just reading something today when I thought I mentioned Western countries, meaning not Asian countries or what we might call Eastern. But it's interesting when you mention a Western country, it's all relative. Western to what? Right. Like, how does it end up that the Middle East is called the Middle East and then there's the Far East of what? What is it east of? Because this could be east of something else. So I found that interesting of the concepts of who labeled these things based on the power structure, which, in Europe is where a lot of it is based. We're west of Europe. And then the Middle East is east of Europe and the Far East. So it's very interesting that, right? So guru is a Sanskrit term that means spiritual teacher. In Tibetan, we often use the word lama. Lama literally is one who is heavy, one who is heavy. It's not a weight thing. It's one who is heavy with realizations. So when you want to find an appropriate guru, teacher, you have different levels of teachers. So we have the alphabet teacher on that level. So people might have someone that they went to their first teaching with. There's people that you take refuge with a teacher. So you have at that level. Then some people take additional vows. For instance, bodhisattva vows with a teacher, then it's a little bit higher level. Then they'll take tantric vows, even a higher level, especially when they're taking highest yoga tantra empowerment. So that's the highest level guru you have. They call that the Vajra guru. Vajra is often symbolized in Buddhism as a little thunderbolt. And we always use the Vajra, Sanskrit, Dorje in Tibetan, okay? And it's always coupled with the bell that we offer when we're offering a music offering in a certain ritual like that. So the Vajra and bell are held, bell in the left hand representing wisdom realizing emptiness. Vajra is held in the right hand. So the Vajra is this indestructible nature, diamond hard nature of your method, your way that you will get enlightened. How will we get enlightened? With the fully opened heart, bodhicitta, the enlightened attitude. Okay. So when you have a Vajra guru, okay, highest level guru, it's that indestructible nature, that being that you have that connection with, their role is to free you. Is to free you. Can you do me a favor? Can I just ask you to move over because you got somebody right behind you? So
Sure.
I just thought, thank you, if you don't mind. Thank you very much. I know there's somebody behind you now, but they're a little taller, so thank you. Thanks very much. Just based on the chairs. So Vajra Guru. So this is a person ideally that has high levels of realization. And you say, well, how will I know that? You may not, but you want to very intently check on them before you accept a teacher at that level, before you go to a tantric empowerment like that to get that. So check. His Holiness the Dalai Lama says takes 6 years. He actually gave a amount of time take 6 years and be a spy on your guru. Check them out. Don't just accept because everybody's following this person. Okay, we get swept away, especially in the States. I've seen some teachers come in and sweep everybody away, and their problems happen, there's confusion. So check for yourself. It's you and your relationship. It's not you and somebody else. It's you and this person, which means now everybody's online. So look at some of the teachings online. You can watch recordings, but look at some live stream while it's happening. Go and see, it's different live stream, okay? Then you like somebody, check their schedule. When are they coming to a center in your region? And get yourself there in person in front of them. It's different, okay? If you really like the person and you're following some of their general advice that they give in the teachings, okay, then you might have an opportunity another time, right, when you show up in person to ask the attendant for an appointment with them. And what you're going to ask is some very important practice questions, maybe something serious about your health or some major life decision you have. Those are the kind of questions you bring to any teacher, okay? It's not about what color car to buy and things like that. You don't want to ask the mundane things. You want to ask something really related to your getting free. That's their job. Okay. Now, the thing is, if you do ask and you're seeking from your side advice from this being, then follow the advice. Okay? Follow the advice. If not, you create a lot of obstacles on your path. So again, you don't need to ask. If they're suggesting you do something from their side, that's different. You can actually say, I'm struggling with that. I don't know if I want to do that. But if you're asking from your side, now if they do give you some instructions and things you don't think you can do, then either right there in the appointment or later when you think you can send an email to the attendant, I don't think I'll be able to do this. So just be very sincere about it. But the main thing is you have a formulated question, ask it in the right way, just keep it simple. They don't need the whole backstory. If they need more information, they will ask. You don't need all the details, and they'll give you some advice about your practice, some guidance with your practice, suggestions of what to do, or do this retreat or that thing, or go see that teacher. It's really helpful. So the really authentic gurus, I was very fortunate having met somebody when I was young, Lama Zopa Rinpoche. I have many teachers, but better to stick with few teachers in the beginning until you're riding your Dharma career, till you're getting clear, because it can be confusing. I've had friends that went to one teacher for advice. They didn't like the advice. They went to another teacher for advice. They didn't like that advice. They went to somebody else. All different advice really started confusing them, okay? So again, in order to find the teacher, in order to create that incredible connection, takes a lot of effort from your side. And this is a hard one for Americans. I don't know for all Americans here, but I'm just saying it's very hard in our culture. We're very independent. When I met Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and it was suggested to me in a trip I was doing, getting confused about, should I follow him and all his disciples to Tibet, which I had no interest in going to. And I had this whole wonderful other trip planned. And I started to get confused, and some of his students said, oh, you should just ask Rinpoche. Okay. But when you're an independent American, it was the furthest thing from my mind. I didn't ask anybody what to do with my life. What was I going to ask him to do with my, But fortunately, something ripened for me, something to connect to somebody that could really free me, help me get really ultimately free. Right? I'm not ultimately free, but I'm just saying to be on that path that's been so rich and authentic for me, so helpful in my life. And fortunately, I had the good sense and decided to write him a letter. We were there staying at the same Kopan monastery, and write a letter and got some advice. Again, it was something I could follow. I knew before I wrote it, I will be able to follow this. If he says to go to Tibet, I'm ready to do it. Even though there were a lot of obstacles, but I got the information. And then what you do is start with something small, advice you can follow, small question. So I followed the advice, right? And then you have to check your mind. Did I think it was helpful? Not helpful? Right? It doesn't mean everything will be crystal clear, okay? But I like the result. I like the advice, you know, all these things. So then about a year later, I saw Rinpoche again in the United States. And then I could ask another small piece of advice that I thought I could follow. Right? Gave me the advice. I did the practices, checked again. I like the result. I think it's really helpful for my mind. Very helpful for me to balance my mind. Okay, everybody with me? So, and then again, slowly ask some more advice. Slowly ask, you know, following, you know, and then as a result of this, I'm forming a closer connection with this being. So that people will say, oh, I don't want to ask for an appointment. I don't want to bother them. Okay, it's very considerate from your side. Great. But you do have to a little bit push from your side to want to see them and can create that connection. So that's okay from your side. You're not bothering them all the time. You're not constantly, you know, WhatsApping the attendant. You don't want to do, but again, you have something sincere you want to ask. A lot of times people get answers on email now, right? It's okay. They're all hooked up technologically, all the attendants and the lamas and things like that. So I'm just giving you the idea of guru. What is that about? This is the person that not only turns your mind more to the Dharma. Okay, what is Dharma? What is Dharma again? What constitutes something that's really Dharma? What would you say? Anybody online or?
Buddhist path to enlightenment. Isn't it the Buddhist teaching to enlighten?
Okay, the Buddhist teaching to enlightenment. What makes it a Dharma activity though?
Virtuous. Is it like virtuous mind training?
Virtuous mind training. What's the nature of virtuous mind training? Anybody? Other ideas? What makes it uniquely Dharma? What, if you're really practicing Dharma, what are you doing? What's different than other stuff? Okay, anybody online? Did I mention this the other day?
Motivation.
Okay, motivation's part of it. Okay, so the real Dharma practice, according to this tradition, the real Dharma practice is, she mentioned this morning, Khandrila. No problem, no. The real Dharma practice is turning your mind from delusion, countering delusion, dismantling delusion in your mind. Delusion is an imbalance in your mind. I'll give you another synonym, afflictive emotions. Okay, things like confusion and ignorance, hatred, anger, desire, attachment, depression, fear, anxiety, jealousy, pride. You get the idea?
Mm.
We all have those things. So a few of them, now when I just mentioned the list, one or two jump out for you? You go, that's my thing. Okay, you want to go after those first. Countering that, learning in courses the antidotes to that. What do I do? You know, meditation is the basis of it all. Meditation and the right motivation. Like that. So let's go back just, and we're going to do this Lama Tsongkhapa. This is going to be anchored in Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga. So that's when I mentioned Guru Yoga, and I'll discuss that. But what I want to do is just in teaching, we are going to just start with some basic teaching prayers. Okay. We're going to do this in an abbreviated way just for time's sake. These are the standard prayers that we do at the beginning of a teaching. Praise to Shakyamuni Buddha. We have an image of the Buddha here. We have many images in the room. So you want to imagine they're in front of you representing that omniscient mind, omniscient consciousness. And you could actually see them as inseparable if you have a guru, a teacher, separate from that. And because this is anchored in Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, we've got Lama Tsongkhapa involved. So there's a tanka. Is it the second from the?
Yes.
That side is Lama Tsongkhapa and his two disciples. The man with the orange kind of cone hat on is Lama Tsongkhapa, our patron saint. So he's founded the Gelug or Gelugpa tradition. That's this tradition in Tibetan Buddhism. And he founded Ganden Monastery, which is outside of Lhasa, Tibet, that was destroyed by the communist Chinese. It's being rebuilt now. And they exiled and they created a Ganden Monastery in South India that you can visit as well. That Lama Tsongkhapa was a genius, and all the practices that we talk about doing, he did extensive numbers of them, millions and millions of different things, purifying, and he wrote extensive commentaries on our philosophy, the Lam Rim, stages of the path, the Lam Rim. So his personal teacher, his guru, because he was so highly realized, was Manjushri, this Buddha. Okay, so he actually had a Buddha talking to him and guiding him. It's pretty cool. Okay. So again, now I like to see Lama Zopa Rinpoche, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, in my mind as a Buddha, right? Why? This is the essence of Guru Yoga, is to try to see your guru as a Buddha. Why? It's better for your mind. It's better for your mind. So occasionally what happens with a lot of us, a lot of ordinary practitioners, is we see teachers make mistakes. We see some kind of mess up, something, and so as a result, they say the teacher only manifests in a way that you can see them, that your karma allows you to see them. Okay, so that's why they look like that. But you have to be discerning to not follow false gurus, false teachers that can really lead you astray. So if your teacher's stealing, if they're lying to people, sexual misconduct and things, be cautious, check it out thoroughly. Make sure you're comfortable like that. And we've been really fortunate in our lineage, for the most part, that our teachers, and especially the very high level teachers, are who were guided by now, whether it's Holiness the Dalai Lama, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and there's 3 teachers. We were told in April, we had a big organizational meeting at Kopan Monastery this past April, and we were actually told that there's 3 teachers that are kind of our guiding teachers right now in Rinpoche's absence. Lama Zopa Rinpoche passed away 2.5 years ago, and so while we wait for his rebirth, we have 3 teachers that are all around. They're all in their early 40s. 2 are monks, His Eminence Ling Rinpoche, His Eminence Song Rinpoche, and lay Lama Serkong Senchap Rinpoche. I know all 3 of them. They're very authentic, trained, educated very well, and they're beautiful beings. They're all very different, and they teach at our centers like that. So you can actually see when they're coming to the U.S. They do teaching tours in the U.S. Serkong Rinpoche, Senchap Rinpoche just finished a teaching tour in the U.S. And His Eminence Song Rinpoche often will come in the summer sometimes. So you could see. Sometimes you might need to travel a little bit to go to something and check out and things like that. So I know one of you who's online right now was at a teaching with His Eminence Song Rinpoche this summer in Los Angeles, and went and flew out there to attend that. Really amazing. Amazing. So let's imagine, so just to create the causes for us to have a nice teaching, to be focused, to get something out of the teaching, we recite these prayers and practices. When you go to a teaching with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, formal teaching in India, the prayers and practices can be about a half an hour. That's how important they are, like that. Okay, so let's just putting our mind in the right frame of mind and take a moment to consider your motivation for this evening, for showing up, being interested in this particular class, what you would like to get out of this class, how it may be helpful to invigorate your practice so that that practice will lead you to ultimate freedom. And I would add, as quickly as possible, because so many beings are suffering and they need our help. And as humans, we try to help, but we are limited. So we continue to help, but as a Buddha, as a fully awakened being, you're fully empowered and very happy to help all living beings every moment you breathe. That is the crux of the bodhicitta motivation. If you like that idea, please roll it into your motivation. At the very least, you are directing your mind in the most positive way. So with that motivation in mind, let's recite this praise one time through. To the founder, the endowed.
The endowed transcendent
Wait, can we
destroyer,
mute
the one.
can we mute everyone, please? How do we mute people, please? Is everybody muted? I can't see how to do that, so thank you. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Shugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. So normally we recite that 3 times. When, O supreme amongst humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise, then, I prostrate. With pure bodies, formed supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust free like you, the 3 worlds are not, incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you, the one gone to thusness, I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to the Dharma that pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha, to all 3 ever devout homage. To all worthy of respect, bowing with bodies as many as all realms atoms in all aspects, with supreme faith, I pay homage. Let's focus very much on these next 4 lines, the crux of Dharma, of Buddhism. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. Perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. And then very helpful for this evening, this next 4 lines are really about different ways to think about emptiness. Think about the nature of reality. A star, a visual aberration, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits, may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the foe of all faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. Then normally we recite at teachings the Heart Sutra. So it's all about getting your mind oriented in emptiness, a great way to come to any teaching or to practice. There's additional verses that Prayer to the Lion-Faced Dakini helped you to remove obstacles. So I would just say, by the teachings of the 3 supreme jewels, possessing the power of truth, may inner and outer hindrances be transformed. May they be dispelled. May they be pacified. Shintim Kuriye Soha. And then there's a long lineage Lama's prayer. So you're calling on these beings to come be here with us, like Lama Tsongkhapa. And then we have offering a mandala. So we'll do the short mandala, which is a world system. So in a sense, I'm saying I'd like to offer something precious to get this Dharma teaching. So it's a little bit symbolic of in ancient days when people would do that. This ground anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, 4 continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this is a Buddha field and offer it. May all living beings enjoy this pure land. And then asking the teachers to accept the mandala. Idam Guru Rana Mandala Kam Nirata Yami. And refuge and bodhicitta before the teaching. Let's really think about the words. We'll recite it twice in English, chant it once in the phonetics. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Oh, Sangye Chodan Soki Chonam La Janchu Barduda Ni Kyap Suchi Dagi Chin Yingi Pe Sonam Ki Dro La Pencher Sangye Dru Parsho Sangye Chodan Soki Chonam La Janchu Barduda Ni Kyap Suchi Dagi Chin Yingi Pe Sonam Ki Dro La Pencher Sangye Dru Parsho. I don't know if it's better. I'm not sure how to do it. It's probably better to just have me bigger than all the, is it more, people can concentrate a bit better sometimes? I don't know how to do that. There. Sorry. Thank you. Usually there's somebody running the, so the other thing I'll ask whoever's running the video, whoever is doing the vid.
Oh, beautiful.
Great.
What's not your back?
I wanted to ask if somebody is running the video, they'll have to look at any comments in the chat because I can't focus on that when I'm teaching. So I'm not sure who's doing that tonight. Is somebody on that from the center? Don, are you doing
I
that
can
or
keep an eye on chats, sure.
Okay, super, wonderful. Thank you so much. That's great. Because sometimes people put something in and I can't really see it. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to go to the Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga again. I just emailed today to Don and Anthony. It's a sheet that of some suggestions of how to get your practice started or to enhance your practice. It is mostly obviously according to the instructions from Lama Zopa Rinpoche, first of all, how I've been practicing for years. And it also has a link of suggestions from Lama Zopa Rinpoche that are very much similar to what I'm put on the sheet. It's a little bit in order of what you would do. So I want to talk a little bit about that. The first thing on the page is something called the method to transform a suffering life into happiness. So when you hear a title like that, it sounds pretty good, right? We want to transform a suffering life into happiness. Great. And all it is it starts off with some scanning verses, like simple verses of the Lam Rim. Okay. Then it goes into Lojong verses. Lojong is mind training. That's a little bit more intermediate level. So those verses might have confuse you a little bit unless you've been practicing a bit, meaning saying like, if somebody hurts me and attacks me, that I would only wish them enlightenment. Okay, so Lojong is very profound for your mind, how you really start shifting your mind into a different experience. And you get happier as a result. So, and then what comes next in the booklet is there are mantras to bless your speech, blessing your feet, all these things that really increase everything you do with your practice that day. Has that potential. Now, we need a little faith in these practices. Initially you come and people say to me, well, there's all these words. I don't know how to say the mantras. And so so the booklet, the link I give, and you hear all these different references to things. And I've done this for many years at centers. And people say there's this Lam Rim guide, there's this prayer book, the Shakyamuni Buddha daily practice meditation, and then nobody knows where to get them. So all the links are right on the sheet. You click on the link, there's the text. You either buy it or you download it for free. Okay, or you can add it onto your device. There it is. Like that. So it's somewhat easy. So it takes a little effort to get them all together, but all the links are right there. Okay. So I start my day with the method to transform a suffering life. Okay. Anything you say out loud, you will eventually memorize. Okay. So it doesn't mean you need to sit and do it really slowly sometimes. I do it while I'm setting up my altar every morning. Right? But make sure your mind is focused on it. And I've had friends that said they sit down and they do their practice, right? And then they notice their mind was way over here, then you have to do it again. Like make sure you're not doing stuff when you're driving. That stuff doesn't really count. You're not reciting mantras when you're watching TV. Doesn't work. It's not going to work for your mind. Okay. So it's hard in the States. It's hard in the States. We're so distracted with things. Okay. So what the booklet has a commentary in it, explains what it's about. So it can be easier for you. So, and what I ask people to do is when they look at that list, there's a lot of different things on there. So before you get overwhelmed, you start with one item first, and you do that for 2 to 4 weeks. And that's all you're doing. So you get really familiar with it. And you go, oh, I know that practice now. I read the commentary twice. I know what it is. I found out, I got instruction on how you recite those mantras. Some people leave the mantras. You're not ready for that? Leave that. But recite the other verses. Maybe some days you don't have time, so you do the Lam verses. That's really quick. That whole thing takes me in the morning. I don't even know if it's 10 minutes. I haven't memorized. It could be 5 minutes. That's it. So it's a little bit of little buoyant cushion. I get, I already have my motivation in bed. I've already started. But then when I really want to get up and start doing, you can sit down and do it. You've got your altar set up, and I have so many practices all day. I need to combine some things. So as long as I'm thinking, I got my motivation going through. So I like to do that where it gets my mind, Now, when I set up the altar and I'm pouring the bowls, that's another practice booklet. Okay. I don't have that on my list, but you can talk to the center about that. They can show you how to do. But there's time I stop anything I'm reciting because I'm reciting the multiplying mantra that I'm supposed to do with the water bowls. So eventually you start to put things together of what works for you, and you can change things up over time. This isn't working, have it in this part of the day. I want to move it to this part of the day. I've done that many times. This is you getting used to your practice. So what I have is certain things. You go down, okay? So I have, there's a couple Guru Yoga practices on the list. One of them, the simplest, is Shakyamuni Buddha daily practice, daily meditation practice, okay? So that particular small booklet, again, is contained in this prayer book, happened to be put in there, okay? But then they found it was really useful on its own, so they pulled it out into its own booklet, okay? We're not selling these hard copy materials anymore from our organization, okay? But you can download all of them, and then people were using them on their devices. So I still have some of the hard copy booklets. I didn't bring any with me, but when I go on pilgrimage with people, I often give it to them as an extra little thing because everything's in that booklet that you really need. And that's the Guru Shakyamuni Buddha daily meditation practice. Simplest Guru Yoga. So again, you go, well, I've done this first motivation and that, the method to transform a suffering mind, I've gotten that use. Let me look now at the Shakyamuni Buddha practice and do it for 2 to 4 weeks. So it's a little longer. It tells you exactly motivations in there. You don't know what to say motivation. Read Rinpoche's motivation. Okay. One of his motivations starts with, right in the beginning of the booklet, how lucky I am that I have not died last night. Right? So right there, you're like out of the gate, like, whoa, death and impermanence. Great balancing place to start the practice. Motivate your practice that way. I need to get practicing now. I need to do something, and I need to do it now, and I need to do it well. So read some of the motivation. If you don't have a lot of time, you need to go to work. Read a little bit of the motivation, stop, let it go more deeply. Okay. Tells you visualize the Buddha, and it tells you why the Buddha looks like that, why he sits like that, why his lips are red, why his eyes are kind of half closed, half open. Tells you the whole thing. Right. So the first few times you're going to be slowly going through it, and it's tedious, like anything new you learned, right? Anything new you learned. And then you're going to be more familiar with it. You don't have to read the whole description the next time. You just visualize the Buddha. There he is out there. You know that he sits on a golden jeweled throne. You know that there's 2 snow lions on each corner. There's 8 snow lions. and that the snow lions represent his fearlessness. So slowly, so you don't need to read all that. You've already got that in your mind, right? So you have the visualization. Then there's a number of prayers that we do, okay? The main prayers we do are a 7-limb prayer that's also contained in the practice we're going to do. We're going to look at tonight. Standard prayer. So sometimes the 7-limb prayer, and it tells you right in the booklet what each of those lines mean. Like that. So it's all explained. Like that. And then sometimes the 7-limb prayer is done in 7 lines. Simple. So in the Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, there's a paragraph for every limb. So if it says, reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. That's the first limb. First of the 7-limb prayer, first line. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind. It's about humbling yourself. Making prostrations cuts pride. That's why we do it, humbles us. And I pay my respect. I have respect for the Buddha Dharma Sangha. That's what it's about, paying homage. That's line number 1. The Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga, the more intermediate level that we're talking about tonight, has a paragraph for that. Okay. Shakyamuni Buddha practice book has 1 line, you say. Okay, so but both are great. But you try one, try for a few weeks. And so what you're going to do is you go through that booklet. There's a mandala offering, what we just read tonight, right? There's a section about refuge in there. It explains everything to think about, right? Refuge is one of our nundro practices. Nundro means preliminary practices. So we have at least 9 in our tradition, and these are practices. You're either visualizing a Buddha, you're reciting mantras, you're doing prostrations, you're offering water bowls. There's all different variety, right? They seem to purify the elements in your body. They purify your body and mind. They're extraordinary. Okay, I've done many of them. You do a certain set. The normal standard amount is you do 100,000 of whatever you're focusing on. Well, that sounds like a lot. Okay, it works on your mind. And what they're designed to do, nundro, preliminary practices, okay, are to purify negativities, gross and subtle in your mind, okay, and help you accumulate merit for all the good conditions you need to progress along the path. And that's mostly what we're doing for most practitioners this time around, purifying and accumulating positive energy. And if you purify enough of any gunk you've got in your mind, gross and subtle, and you accumulate all the conditions, perfect conditions that you need through virtuous behavior, right? Then you automatically become a Buddha. That's how it works. Buddha. So Sangye. Sangye means sang, an elimination of all your negative tendencies. Gye, all the accumulation of all positive qualities. And that's what Buddha means. That was Rinpoche's brother's name, Sangye. But that's really what it means when you really take the essence of what it is, elimination of all the negativity, accumulation of all the positive, and you're fully awakened being. Great, right? And then you're fully empowered to help all living beings. And you're happy every moment to do that. You don't have the thought of, I want to do this. I want ice cream right now. I don't feel like getting out of bed. When are we going to have pizza? You're just totally focused on everybody else getting pizza, right? And you derive happiness, immense happiness from that too. So it's very effective. So it goes right through, and then it'll also have, so refuge is in the Shakyamuni Buddha practice booklet. There's a whole section of how to think about it with a good motivation. So if somebody's working on a refuge nundra, that I have several people that I know now that are working on that, right? You can stop there, you have more time, and you just go through that visualization, reciting what it explains to recite with the right visualization. Beautiful. Build it right in with Buddha's there. Wonderful. One of the nundra, okay? You don't have time, you're not focusing on that, skip that. Skip that part, go to the next part. Another thing contained in the Shakyamuni Buddha practice booklet is a prayer called the foundation of all good qualities. The foundation of all good qualities. It's a Lam Rim prayer. There's many Lam Rim prayers. Prayers about our basic philosophy. Verses on all the topics of the philosophy. Okay? You have time, you want to read it, you want to a little bit soak your mind in that, read the prayer. You can read it quickly. You don't have to read everything. Read it quickly. You need to go to work, I'm going to read the prayer, got a little bit merged with my mind. If you want to incorporate some analytical meditation on the Lam Rim, we really need to do it. Why? Because it short circuits delusion in our mind and it gives us coping mechanisms of how to deal with the delusions in our mind, with our problems. So when I'm on retreat, I like to do a solar retreat every year. I've been doing it for years. And you're alone, and I'm often in remote places where there's nobody to consult with. Kind of need to have your own program. And some people have said to me, I mean, I get questions about, weren't you lonely and you were there for your birthday alone? And I mean, there's people that feed you, but they're not teaching Dharma and things like that. So, and some people say, what happens if you have a problem or your mind is sinking? I have the Lam Rim. I'm not kidding. Like if you go through and you study the Lam Rim and you outline the Lam Rim, okay, it's incredibly effective for your mind. But you need to learn how to analytically meditate on it. You're analyzing. So if I say death and impermanence, you're definitely going to die. That's one meditation we would do in the Lam Rim. In the foundation of all good qualities, there's a verse that relates to death and impermanence. Okay. So what you do is you'd read the foundation of all good qualities, and I'm now spending a month on just meditating on death, you might say. Okay, and there's different meditations. So what I do is I'd read the prayer till that verse, read the verse, and stop however long you have, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. So if you're doing that every day, incredible power for your mind. I mean, it really starts to sink deeper. So you might have an intellectual understanding here. I'm going to die. I think everybody in this room gets that. You don't have it here. Experiential realization where you know you're going to die. That shifts your life, shifts your mind. Okay. And how does it shift your mind? You start practicing more ardently because you know you're going to die. You don't waste as much time. Does it make sense? Am I communicating? Everybody with me? Like that? So, and then what you do is you finish your meditation, right? And you learn a little bit how to do those analytical meditations, and you read the rest of the foundation of all good prayers, the rest of the prayer. Then you go on, there's visualization, some recitation of Shakyamuni Buddha's mantra. This is in the shorter Guru Yoga, Shakyamuni Buddha practice book, some of his mantra with a certain visualization. Finish that, dissolve the Buddha into your crown, right? And if you'd like, you can leave him out there all day and dissolve a replica into you and empower. Feel that blessing for your body and mind. That's the omniscient consciousness. Feel that dissolved into you, merge with that, and then there's dedication prayers. Okay? And another part, before the dissolution, there's also requests. So it has 3, I think, formal request paragraphs. We forget about requests. We don't understand requests. And what I mean is, you need to ask for what you need. Ask the Buddhas. I want help with my practice. I want to do this retreat. I want to find a teacher. I want to understand emptiness. I want to be able to do a Vajrasattva retreat. I want to do Nundro. I want to specifically make it something loftier than just, I want my baseball team to win. And we don't, that's mundane. But it has formal requests. You can just read those requests, kind of loftier language. But then in your heart, make your own requests. I really want to recover from my cancer. I really want to be able to help, my parents have peaceful deaths. I want to, whatever, make it something more just than yourself, than mundane things like that, but especially about your practice. Okay. Then you do the visualization with some mantra recitation, bringing that energy into your mind and heart. And then the very end is dedication prayers. So all of our main practice is called sadhana. Okay. Sadhana simply means a Sanskrit term that means method of accomplishment. Method of accomplishment. And what it is it's some form of a formal practice involving a certain deity, a certain aspect of the omniscient consciousness of the Buddha. The Buddha had the power, because of the omniscient consciousness, to manifest in all these different images. So you need more compassion? You're going to talk to that guy. So above the picture of His Holiness the Dalai Lama is a 1,000-armed Buddha of compassion, infinite compassion, Chenrezig. So there's retreats with Chenrezig. There's a sadhana of that, and you visualize Chenrezig instead of the Buddha. You know, instead of, if you want wisdom, this is the person you want to talk to, Manjushri, Buddha of infinite wisdom. If you need obstacles removed, you talk to Green Tara. She has her own mantra, her own sacred saying. Right? So it's kind of cool that the Buddha had this consciousness that can manifest in all different aspects, all the different things we need. And slowly we get a little bit more familiar with, well, which one do I feel more aligned with? Which one do I like? You know, often we can do several practices. It's okay. I have several I do each day. So, all these sadhanas are basically designed the same. There's refuge and bodhicitta, you know, aligning your motivation. There's a visualization of some sort of deity, right? We always like to incorporate Lamrim meditation in there, okay? So you need to know on the side, you need to be studying the Lamrim to understand, well, how does that fit in? What am I going to meditate on? And I need to get more familiar, take some time. It's worth it. And then practices, there might be a 7-limb prayer, mandala offering. Some of it's abbreviated, some of it may be longer. Some of the deities have elaborate world systems with lots of deities, so it's more involved. Some are very short, like that. And then at the very end, there'll be some visualization, mantra recitation, and dedication. They're all basically designed the same, right? Just different of that deity's world system. See if this, so on that sheet that I emailed out today, on that some instructions. So what I did is I listed a whole bunch of different Lamrim materials. That, well, first of all, it's exhaustive. I mean, there's so many. Okay. But what I did is I took some of the ones I thought would be easiest. So Annie Karen, Venerable Annie Karen, who lives at Kopan Monastery, has taught introductory courses for years. She's amazing. She doesn't do them much anymore. She's older now, but she put together some years ago something called Lamrim Outlines. So you're not really sure what to meditate on? Look at that book. Download that book. Right? It's all laid out really clearly. There's all the by topic, each thing. What do I meditate on with that? The other thing I mentioned in there is something called Lamrim Year. Lamrim Year. So many years later, something more recent, some friends of mine put together a book, and they took excerpts from Lama Zopa Rinpoche, Lama Yeshe, okay? And they go through all the topics of the Lamrim broken down, 365 different meditations, different reflections. So you're not really sure what to do and everything. Open up the book and you look at a page a day. Okay, I find it a little bit light, that one. Like it's really nice, some of it, but you could start there to at least get familiar. Then you need to do a little bit deeper study, but it's great. Okay. And then what I did is I also listed Venerable Thubten Shudran, the abbot of Shravasti Abbey in Washington State, some years ago recorded guided Lamrim meditations. So you want to get that MP3, I think you can download it. Just put on a different meditation every day. Listen to it. Some of them are quite short, some are longer. Go into those. And it's okay to do a meditation over and over and over. They're designed that way. It takes a while to get an insight or a realization. So spend some time with it. You can map out the Lamrim over the course of a year. So when Lama Zopa Rinpoche was alive, he gave instructions to students that requested. People would request via email to his attendants, I would like my life practice. Okay. There were some people that did not request and told me they didn't do it because they were afraid of what the instructions they would get from him, that it would be too extensive. Okay, now he's gone. Now they regret that. They're sorry they didn't get the instructions. It's mapped out for your life. You know exactly what you're supposed to be doing because he checked it just for that person, whether he met the person or not. That's the kind of mind he had. Okay. So several students showed me their instructions and it was sent to them by email. Some of it standardized, the motivation, what to think about, right? And then there's blank lines filled in by hand by his attendants, specific things he checked just for them. Which nundro to do, how many to do of that nundro. And then he has had what meditations on the Lam Rim they need to focus on, for how long, which Lam Rim text they should be reading. It's amazing. Some of these students really embrace the instructions and they're doing incredible. It's just amazing. It's very inspiring for me to see them just take off with their practice, just going. One of them just said to me, she goes, yeah, now I did that nundro, now I'm gonna finish this one. And then and she's already looking ahead next year, how she set up her work schedule. She goes, yep, and I know that I can do that. And this I'm gonna do before I go to work each day. When I come home, I'm gonna do another set and I should be able to finish it in 4 months. So inspiring. So inspiring. So you have to ask yourself when you're engaging in these practices and you're on this path. And I mentioned this yesterday, I think. So this is not an easy path. Okay. Americans like things easy. Okay? And one time I was at a teaching with His Holiness the Dalai Lama in Los Angeles, big arena. Many people were there. And you could send questions up written down and they would give them to the interpreter, Thubten Jinpa, His Holiness's interpreter when His Holiness teaches in the West. He's a wonderful man. And he's a professor at McGill University in Canada. So for some reason, whatever our karma was, the first question he opened was, someone wrote, what's the easiest way to get enlightened? Right? Typical kind of American Los Angeles kind of audience. Not everybody was from California there, but and His Holiness started crying, which is always really hard when the King of Kindness is crying. And then he stopped, and then he really manifested wrath at us. Wrathful at, and he said, you Americans, you always want it so easy. And it really taught me a lesson about, when I'm trying to find the easy way out. So I find that can be challenging in American culture. If you want something easy, I really would advise you now to find something else. This is not the path. Okay, but it's really rewarding. It's really worthwhile. But you do have to make some effort and figure out what's realistic for you to build it into your life. So the other thing I'd say is you have to explore your relationship with freedom. How many of you really want to get free? So we have a lot of freedom in the United States, right? It's really mundane freedom. It's little freedom. It's a little low level freedom. And we are really free in the States. We're very fortunate. Is your mind free? How's your mind? Is your mind free? Okay. So the number of people that in the last couple of years that have contacted me with excessive anxiety, fear, panic attacks, depression, confusion, incredible attachment and jealousy and anger, and is that freedom, right? And so the Dharma and the enlightened beings are telling us you can get completely free and you're blissful all the time, empowered to help all beings. And how many of us are really going for it, right? It's available to everybody in this room, everybody online. It's available to you right now, okay? So it takes effort, but it's really a struggle, and it is there. And one time we were at a Light of the Path retreat, and I know Peggy was there one year and some of the rest of you. This was a retreat held in North Carolina with Lama Zopa Rinpoche. There were 4 different retreats over a number of years. The center in North Carolina rented a YMCA, rented a room, a big hall there, because none of our centers were big enough. And about 200 to 300 people would come for 2 weeks. I think it was generally over 2 weeks, and Rinpoche would teach. And one of my friends came who's a really great meditator. And when it was a break. There was all these people in this hall, and we were sitting in. I went back to see him because all the monks and nuns sit up front. And I went back and we were saying hello. I hadn't seen him in a while. And then all of a sudden he looked, and he's really funny and he's very light. And then he leaned into me at one point and he said, "Hey, look at all these people." And he said, "How many of them do you think really want to be free?" Like, and I really thought about it of kind of, also my own level of like how free, can you turn the volume up a little bit more to try to speed along to enlightenment? Like that is really effective. So think about your own relationship with freedom, and can you adjust something realistically in your life so that you're gonna start practicing a little bit more, set up that practice, get that going. Okay. Is everybody doing okay? Any questions so far on what I'm saying? And has anybody online any questions? Okay, everybody okay? Okay. Okay, Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga. I'm going to share this text. I think I already had it ready to go. Here we go. And again, this text, that's the wrong one. Okay, here we go. We try that again. Yeah, there we go. So this is a practice also called Ganden Lagema. Ganden Lagema, the 100,000 deity kind of Tushita Pure Land, Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga. Okay, and this is actually one of our Nundro, one of our preliminary practices. And there's different versions of this. There's a highest yoga tantra version, but we're going to do a simple version of this that everybody can do. And what I also put on the sheet that was sent out, that was emailed out, is a commentary on this practice. You can watch a video of me. There's a link to that another group that used to exist, connected to us in Miami some years ago. They don't exist anymore as a group, but they asked me to teach them this practice some years ago, and they videoed it, which was very kind. And so one of them put it on, some students created a YouTube channel for me that's connected to my website. So it's up there, and it's been really helpful so people can just watch. So you may not have time to go through the whole video in one go. Watch 15 minutes at a time, 20, watch it, take your notes. You know what you're doing. You can have the booklet next to you or have it on a device like that. So I have the link of how you can find the practice to download that. And then I have a link to the commentary. So that way you can understand a little bit more, go back like that. You could also listen to this recording if it's helpful like that. So again, Lama Tsongkhapa is the orange with the yellow hat. He has two disciples, and that's what we visualize predominantly through this practice like that. So here it is, preliminary practice, if you see, taking refuge and generating bodhicitta. So it's always orienting us of what's my motivation. The most important thing of any activity you do, most important thing in the beginning of your day, set a good motivation, set a positive motivation. Mahayana motivation is I want to get enlightened to benefit all living beings. Two components, okay? And at least setting the mind in a positive direction. So we are so thoroughly distracted sometimes in our cultures, right? And with motivation, what you're doing is you're taking your energy and you're controlling and focusing it. Because often we come into technology that pulls your attention this way, that way, this way. I'm saying I need it to go this way. That's what motivation is really helpful. It's kind of the anchor for your boat. Okay, so you have that anchor there that I set in the morning, and what happens is all day my boat kind of floats around, this and that. But then I have the motivation there, so it centers me, grounds me, and you get lost all day. Suddenly you're over here, and this person's irritating you. And then you find your mind, here comes delusion, mind out of balance. Both start sinking. And then I go, wait, what was my motivation in the morning? To become a Buddha, to benefit all living beings. With mindfulness, I notice I'm challenged right now by this person. But this person, like every sentient being, is the source of my happiness. Okay. Can't really do anything much without sentient beings. Okay. They're my path to enlightenment because they allow you to serve them. You know, everything you have, okay, everything you are has come to you through other beings' kindness. We can't get enlightened without them. So slowly through your own Dharma exploration and study and practice, you start to see the value of all living beings. But right now we like these beings, we don't like these beings. Like that. Then you get irritated by somebody. Then your boat tips a little bit. Okay. So then if I come back for a moment with some mindfulness, any time of your day, and I'll give you an example. I used to work in a law firm. Okay. And sometimes during the day, I had different stories in my mind of what I thought I should be doing, not this work, not the work in the law firm. And you get these negative stories in your mind. You're not good enough, or why should I be doing this? And and I'd start to and then you start blaming other people in your office, like it's their fault. This was my choice. But so again, I was a Buddhist at the time, helping in other centers so I could work in this law firm part-time, right? And they paid me a lot of money to do this menial kind of work, whatever. So but what I do is, if the stories got too loud and I start heading downhill in my mind, right, I can take a break and go in the bathroom and reestablish my motivation. Because I suddenly noticed my mind getting really irritated, and then this person was annoying me. And I went, wait a minute, in the bathroom, and there's my motivation. Oh, right, this morning I was saying I want to become a Buddha to benefit all living beings. And I forgot that for a moment, all living beings. So I was really interested in benefiting all living beings except this person that was irritating me. So there's my anchor. My anchor grounds me. Oh, that's right. My motivation, all living beings. Okay. Especially the person who is irritating, because they really show your mind where you have work to do. That person's the most valuable. So it gives you a way to cultivate more, to cherish them more. Okay. Okay. Refuge and bodhicitta. Let's start. And you can have here, and here it just says visualize the objects of refuge. It's all self-explanatory. You can either do an elaborate visualization of one into many, and that means when we often do a Lama Tsongkhapa, a Lama Chopa merit field. Is there one in the room somewhere? Anyway, it's a very elaborate, many deities, okay? I do this every morning. I like to have them out there all day. They're there. And the reason I said you could dissolve a replica of the Buddha into you through the shorter Guru Yoga, you can leave the Buddha out there all day then. So let it inform you. Have a little bit, it starts to grow over time where I start consulting the Buddha energy rather than some other friend and family that doesn't have an enlightened consciousness. I'm sitting there sometimes and I have my WWRD is my little short. What WWRD, what would Rinpoche do, is what goes through my mind. What would Rinpoche do? So instead of asking somebody, what do you think? You ask your limited friends and family. But you have a problem, something comes up for me, suddenly we're always confronted with choices. I have choices, and then I suddenly be like, okay, what would Rinpoche do here? What would the Buddha do? Right? What would His Holiness the Dalai Lama, how would he respond? And you go, well, my consciousness is not like theirs, but at least I can try to imagine what they would do. Would they get angry at this person? No. So I don't want to get angry at this person. So let the Buddha inform. If you want to just use the Buddha, let that inform your decisions. Great. Okay. Or it says do a simple visualization. Okay. The Lama Tsongkhapa and his two disciples. Perfect. Put them in front. Okay. And you can visualize at the heart of Lama Tsongkhapa is Shakyamuni Buddha. All connected. And if you want, at the heart of that Buddha is your teacher. You got these three impactful beings, all of them are one. All of them are that enlightened consciousness. The essence of Guru Yoga. I'm going to combine those three beings into one. So slowly you want to get your mind used to that. This is very foreign in the beginning. I get it. Okay. Here's our prayer. Now this is slightly different than the refuge and bodhicitta that we did before the teaching. The third line is slightly different. Here it says, by my merits of generosity and so forth. 6 perfections. That's what it's talking about. Right? Merits of generosity and so forth. Generosity is the first of the 6 perfections of this enlightened behavior. Okay. So before the teaching, it says by the merits of listening to the Dharma. Okay. So we're going to recite this one now. Excuse me. 3 times in English, or we'll do the 2 times in English once in the phonetics, just so we get used to the phonetics. And you want to think about Lama Tsongkhapa, 2 disciples, one is at each of his knees in front of you, slightly smaller than him, radiant, and they're in the nature of light. They're facing you, slightly higher than the level of your head, on beautiful thrones, radiant beings like that. And think about what you do take refuge in, first of all, meaning, what do you do when you get into trouble? So you have to think about this a little bit, your own refuge, and slowly through your Dharma career, you explore. And some of the things we take refuge in offer us temporary relief from the suffering, but not ultimate relief. So what about Buddha, Dharma, Sangha? What about doing a practice involving Lama Tsongkhapa and the Buddha and the Guru? What about that? Would that really help relieve my suffering? You check your mind. Check your mind as you do your practices, okay? The whole path is contained in these four lines anyway. So let's really think with our mind, everything we recite, really put your mind there in what we're reciting. Feel free to join in. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merits of generosity and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merits of generosity and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. O Sangye Chodan Soki Chonam La Janchu Bardu Dagni Kyap Suchi Dagi Jin Sogi Pe Sonamgi Drola Penchur Sangye Drup Pa Sho. 4 measurable thoughts. This is a longer version, okay? And this is on a simple level, okay? It's simply, and I'm going to do it in a different order. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. So I want you to just, for a moment, reflect on this. You can just close your eyes. So just reflect. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. That's immeasurable love. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. So imagine you breathe that in, you breathe it out, and that's immeasurable compassion. May all beings never be separated from the happiness that knows no suffering. That's immeasurable joy. Really send these wishes to the universe, all living beings. That's why they're immeasurable. So you're not limiting love, compassion, joy, and the last one, equanimity, we'll do next. But you're also not limiting who you're sending these prayers to. It's all living beings, countless beings, immeasurable. May all beings abide in equanimity, being free of attachment and hatred. So I just did a short version of those. This was added into the prayer. It's not actually part of the Ganden Lagema, but Rinpoche likes to add these. It's a beautiful prayer, and sometimes Rinpoche asks people to do, for Nundro, for preliminary practices, to do a number of these four immeasurables over and over, to recite with Tonglen meditation. So Rinpoche describes it right in here, where he says, meditate briefly on Tonglen, focusing, and he says for the first, in this order, he's starting with equanimity. It's okay to start with that order. And he says, focusing, Tonglen is taking the suffering of others and offering them happiness. So it's a quite profound meditation that's part of a method to develop bodhicitta. So it comes in higher level of the Lamrim. And he says, as you inhale, focus on taking on all the disturbing thoughts of sentient beings. And as you exhale, giving them, so you take on the disturbing thoughts, you give it to your self-cherishing thought that is like a constricted knot at your heart, and it destroys that. It chips away at that. Okay. And as you exhale, you give them all, everything that unites people, that has them having an equanimous state of mind. So each one you could do Tonglen, if you have the time. You don't have the time, then skip this part. Or do an abbreviated version of it, okay? Immeasurable loving kindness. Rinpoche has the same thing and tells you about what words he's replaced, he wants to have, like that. And then talks about here, meditate briefly on Tonglen, okay? And he says, focusing on transforming your body into skies of wish-granting jewels, okay? And it gives every sentient being, all living beings, whatever they desire, whatever they need, both temporal and ultimate happiness. So again, you could take on Tonglen, taking on anything that prevents them from having, and this is immeasurable love, immeasurable loving kindness, anything that prevents them from having that, but it doesn't harm me when I take that on. It just harms that self-cherishing knot at my core, keeps me from being happy. As I chip away at that, I'm filled with a greater spaciousness, more loving kindness. And as I exhale, I offer that to all of them in the form of wish-granting jewels, bring them whatever they desire, whatever they need. Then immeasurable compassion. Rinpoche again tells you exactly what to focus on, like that. All the suffering and its causes, like that. Take that from others. It only harms your self-cherishing, and you offer them freedom from suffering. And then immeasurable joy. Okay? And here is Lama Tsongkhapa and his two disciples. Nice color photo here in the practice. So Gyaltsab on the left is the older, there's one old disciple and one younger disciple. The younger one on the right looks a little wrathful. The older one is very sweet like that. Lama Tsongkhapa's two disciples. And then Ganden gave 100 deities of Tushita, pure realm. Okay, so invocation starts with, I'm asking them to come and be here in this place, in that tanka, in the visualization you have in front, like that. So let's read in English. From the heart of the savior of the 100 deities of Tushita, on the peak of a cloud resembling a clump of extremely white fresh curd, King of Dharma, omniscient Losangdrapa, please come here together with your sons. So we have the visualization in front, but I'm asking them to come, breathing life into the visualization, come and be here with us. And then we basically go through a 7-limb prayer, okay? So there's a verse for each prayer. They're in different order. So this one happens to start with, this is something usually at the end of the 7 limbs, I'm requesting them to stay for a long time until samsara ends. And this prayer just happens to start with that. Request to remain for a long time. And here it tells you exactly what to visualize. Visualize numberless replicas of yourself. Okay, and they're offering a beautiful golden lion throne. Again, lion means there's 2 snow lions on each corner. So there's 8 snow lions representing fearlessness. Okay, adorned with jewels. The double Vajra on the front is a long life image. So you're asking them to live a long time. And you just visualize you're offering that to them. It absorbs into the thrones that they're on, right? Asking them this particular limb of the 7 limbs, and then we recite in English. In the sky before me, on a lion throne, lotus and moon, my perfect pure guru smiles with delight. As a supreme field of merit for my mind of faith, please abide for hundreds of eons to spread the teachings. So sometimes in another form of the 7 limb, it might say, Please stay until the end of samsara, till the end of cyclic existence. I need them to stay because we need help. If they leave and they don't come back to our world system, what are we going to do? We have no guidance. Okay, like that. So that's beginning the 7 limbs here. Okay, now we go into the standard verse, the standard order, prostration. Okay, let's read. Your holy mind has the intelligence that understands the full extent of objects to be known. Your holy speech with its excellent explanations is an ornament for the ears of those of good fortune. Your holy body is radiantly beautiful with glory renown. To you who are meaningful to see, hear, and remember, I prostrate. So I'm basically praising their body, speech, and mind. Okay, paying homage, I'm respecting that. And then at the end it says, I prostrate. Okay. Some people want to build in prostration nundro. Some people would stop at this verse and then using another booklet called Prostrations to the 35 Confession Buddhas, they would learn that practice booklet, incredible purification, and stop and make a number of prostrations. You can just build it right in, right there. Next limb is offerings. Pleasing drinking water, various flowers, fragrant incenses, lights, scented water, and so forth. Oceans of cloud-like offerings, both actually arranged and mentally emanated. I offer to you the supreme field of merit. Okay, that's exactly what the water bowls represent from left to right. First 2 bowls, the first is drinking water. The second bowl, it's not really mentioned here, it's assumed, is washing, or more specifically, washing the feet. Those 2 water bowls, those 2 water offerings represent your joyous effort. One of the 6 perfections, your joyous effort. Joyous effort isn't just making effort happily at anything, it's making effort at virtue, doing something virtuous. Okay. The flowers, the next bowl, flowers represent your merits. Fragrant incense represents good morality. Light offerings represent the wisdom realizing emptiness. Scented waters or perfumes represent virtues. And then it doesn't mention, it just says, and so forth. And the next bowl would be food, represents meditative stabilization. And the last bowl is music that represents prayers and dedication. Okay. So when you do this offering verse, if you like, you want to visualize, if you can, if you have time, that these offerings are multiplying, filling all the space of the finest qualities. If you have any understanding of emptiness, they're completely empty. They lack any inherent concrete nature. Like that. They exist as arising independence on other things. Like that. It's the best way to make offerings like that. So we make offerings to create more merit, like that. Confession. So just like Catholics, we have confession, having very deep regret for doing something you've really messed up with your body, speech, or mind. Let's read together. Whatever non-virtues of body, speech, and mind I have collected from beginningless time, especially those opposite to the 3 vows, I confess each and every one from my heart with fervent regret. So if you want to take a moment, you can feel a little bit regret. Sometimes you don't have time, you're just reading through it slowly with some focus. Rejoicing. You strove to accomplish much hearing in this degenerate age, and made your freedoms and richnesses meaningful by abandoning the 8 worldly concerns. Savior, we sincerely rejoice in your extensive deeds. Okay, rejoicing is the easiest way to accumulate positive energy. So if you know somebody's doing something really positive for the center, they're making offerings at the center, they've been supporting the center for a long time, they're the director of the center, they're in Bodh Gaya, India, doing prostrations all winter. They've done some incredible other nundro and finished a refuge nundro, or did this many mantras or this retreat, and you just think how wonderful, right? You get some of that energy, you get some of that merit from just sitting on your butt and rejoicing. Okay, it's that easy. Okay, but it doesn't mean that we just get to rejoice all the time and not do our own practices. Okay. So, and made your freedoms and richnesses meaningful. What are they referring to? And made your freedoms and richnesses meaningful. What does that refer to?
Your virtues, your virtues.
your
practices.
your practices, your virtues, freedoms and riches make up what?
Perfect human rebirth.
Your
Perfect human rebirth.
perfect human rebirth. Thank you. I think the rest of you are calling yourself intermediate students. Okay, these are so the beginning of the Lam starts with, thank you, Gina, precious human rebirth. And that's made up of 18 situations, 8 freedoms and 10 richnesses. So it's referring to your precious human rebirth. Okay, think about making it meaningful, by doing practice, by abandoning the 8 worldly concerns. And I'll just get some of the folks online as well. The 8 worldly concerns. What are the 8 worldly concerns? Anybody? 8 worldly dharma, sometimes called.
Gain and loss.
Gain and loss is one of them. Gain and loss is what there are 4 pairs of situations that manipulate you through life most of the time.
Isn't it your
Gain and loss,
Isn't it your reputation?
that's one of them. Having a good reputation, having a bad reputation.
Criticism.
Pleasure and pain.
Pleasure and pain. We often start with pain and pleasure, number 1. Gain and loss, number 2. What's number 3? So bad reputation and good reputation is the 4th pair. What's the other one?
Pride.
Not quite. Praise and blame. Praise and blame. So literally in Tibetan, it's, if we start with pain and pleasure, being pleasure and pain, being happy when I feel good, being unhappy when I don't feel good, or when I experience pain, being happy when I get something, being unhappy when I don't get something or I lose something. 3rd pair, being happy when I hear pleasant sounds about me, is how it's literally translated. Being unhappy when I hear unpleasant sounds about me. Criticism, you said, yeah. 4th one, being happy when I have a good reputation, being unhappy when I have a bad reputation. Fame and dishonor, they sometimes call that one. 8 worldly dharmas. Okay. Request to turn the wheel of Dharma. This represents asking Lama Tsongkhapa, the disciples, to teach. To turn the wheel of Dharma means teaching. Okay, and here it says, visualize yourselves in the form of a Brahma, a high-level Indian, and they're offering a 1,000-spoked wheel called a Dharma chakra. That represents to turn the wheel of Dharma. Sometimes in a formal long life procession, like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, you can watch online. When they offer that to His Holiness, there'll be a long procession of people with traditional ritual items that they offer, right? And lined up with a whole bunch of gifts behind that and statues and all kinds of things. It's not that His Holiness needs it. It's a ritual thing that creates a cause for His Holiness to live a long time. And they'll have, one of the beginnings is a big golden wheel that somebody will come in on a tray and carry, and then they file by His Holiness like that, okay? So let's recite this verse. Perfect, pure, holy gurus from billowing clouds of wisdom and compassion in the sky of Dharmakaya, please let fall a rain of profound and extensive Dharma upon the earth of those to be subdued exactly as they need. Dharmakaya is the truth body of the Buddha. So when you have highest yoga tantra initiation, anybody here have that? Anybody here? Okay. You can explore a little bit more of the bodies of the Buddha. And Dharmakaya is really, in a sense, the wisdom from which everything comes. Everything comes from Dharmakaya. It's really absolute guru. Your most inner voice, inner wisdom, compassion, all your positive qualities fully manifest like that, which is what we're trying to merge ourselves with. And you can do that with highest yoga tantra empowerment once you've been empowered. And then dedication. May whatever virtue I've collected benefit the teachings and all transmigratory beings, and may it especially cause the essence of perfect, pure Losang Drakpa's teachings to shine forever. Losang Drakpa is Lama Tsongkhapa's ordained name. That. Okay. And here's the mandala offering. So everything's here that we need. Okay. So this is for me to create, again, positive energy. We'll recite this short mandala offering. This ground, anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the 4 continents, the sun and the moon, I imagine as a Buddha land and offer it. May all transmigratory beings enjoy this pure land. And then it has, by the merits of offering this mandala to the merit field, may I, my family members, and all sentient beings be able to meet, practice, and actualize the teachings of the victorious one, Losang Drakpa. Okay. And then it's already got his name there. So we're going to say, pick up the second line, who lived an eminent life endowed with pure morality, a brave heart in doing the Bodhisattva's extensive deeds, and the yoga of the two stages, the supreme transcendental wisdom of non-dual bliss and emptiness. It's a really nice way to do that mandala, to add this request like that. And this is something Lama Zopa Rinpoche has added into the practice. And then this last line in the Sanskrit is like, please, precious Guru, Lama Tsongkhapa and his disciples, please accept this treasured mandala offering, this precious universe that I'm visualizing. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Nirataya. Common meditations for the Miksema recitation. So there is a 5-line verse that is the mantra for this practice. Okay, we're going to continue this next week, a 5-line verse. Okay, and that's called Miksema. We just refer to it quickly. We'll go, oh, are you doing Miksemas? Or let's do some Miksemas. And occasionally, when we're waiting, in old days, when we were waiting for a High Lama to come into the room, and and everybody's assembled, and they get everybody there first. And there's a lot of people gathered, and then we're waiting for them to come down, and it might be a big monastery or a center, and they're coming from a different thing, and they'll say, oh, Rinpoche will be here soon. Sometimes somebody will lead Miksema mantras for us to recite. What the Miksema mantra is, I'm just going to show you the mantra so we get familiar. This is the mantra, okay? And all it really is a request to these 3 very high deities. Chenresig, you see the first word. That's the Buddha of infinite compassion. Manjushri, this gentleman with the sword, Buddha of infinite wisdom. His sword, it's not about violence. His sword cuts delusion. Okay, so when you want wisdom, you need to understand emptiness. That's what he's about. So you can do a separate practice just to him and a separate practice. If you want more wisdom and you want to read these more in-depth books on emptiness, talk to Manjushri, okay? Do a little retreat on him, recite his mantras. The Lord of Secrets, the third one, is Vajrapani. Vajrapani is a wrathful deity that represents divine power. Destroyer of the entire host of Maras, it says. Maras are demons, basically. Okay, and then again, Tsongkhapa, he's connected to all of them. Crown ornament of the sages of the land of snow, Tibet. Okay, Losang Drakpa, his ordination name. At your holy feet, I make requests. So this is a really beautiful way of making requests. I need help. I'm making requests to you. Bless my mind. Open my heart. Help me walk this path. Help to clear obstacles on my path. It's all contained there. And so this is considered our Guru Yoga Nundro. So of the different Nundro I mentioned, preliminary practices, again, that help you clear away negativities, help you accumulate merit, okay? You can do 100,000 prostrations, incredibly purifying. You can offer 100,000 water bowls, or you can do 50,000 water bowls, like that. Vajrasattva is another one, purification practice, okay, with a certain deity, okay? We have short ones that help clear away obstacles you've created when taking vows with your guru, and that's called Samaya Vajra. It's a very short one. It's really quick because the mantra is very short. Okay. We have burning offerings we offer to Dorje Kadro, another deity, a wrathful-looking deity. He helps us purify, and there's a certain booklet. They all have practice booklets of how you do those practices. When I got into this, there were no practice booklets. You'd go to a student more senior to you, and you go, how do you do that practice? And then you'd copy down notes from them. How do I do the mantra? And we tried our best. Now there's practice books, very easy, explaining exactly how you do it, what you visualize, what you think about, how you motivate, okay? So one of them is Guru Yoga. It's very powerful Nundro. And this is the practice, Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga. You do it with this practice, and then you would recite a number of this mantra. You can do the mantra in English. You can do the mantra in the Tibetan, which is just above. Migme Tsewe Turchin Chenre Zig, Drime Kempe, Wampo Jampal Yang, Dupu Malu Jamzu Sangwe Dag, Ganchen kepe tsugen sonka pa, los andrape zabla so wa deb. I make requests like that. It takes about 5 to 6 weeks to do the Nundro, 100,000 of it I did it in Tibetan, so it took me I think it took about 5 weeks full time. I did a highest yoga tantra visualization of it because I had that transmission of that. It was more powerful. The simple one, you're dissolving light from Lama Tsongkhapa and his 2 disciples come to your crown. You can visualize them in front and then they've got tubes of light from their heart. So Lama Tsongkhapa is over them, but the tubes of light from the 2 disciples, tube of light from Lama Tsongkhapa's heart join, and then it comes down through your crown and it washes down and out all your gunk. Okay. All your negativities. Okay. Any pride you have, any jealousy you have, anger, aversion, fear, panic, laziness, forgetfulness, attachment, doubt, holding wrong views. Get the idea? Just imagine it. So streams of healing nectar, purifying nectar come down and wash it all out of you while you recite this mantra. So initially, you have to learn the mantra. You want to memorize the mantra. It takes time. If you say anything out loud, you'll memorize. Don't say it out loud. It's harder to memorize. Okay? Better than listening to a recording of it. You have to say the mantra out loud out of your mouth. Okay? But you can say it more quietly if you live with other people, especially if you're in a group retreat. But air has to leave your mouth, but you can say it also, without disturbing people near you. Okay? Let's try that. Let's do in English. Okay? Shenrei Zig, great treasure of non-objectifying compassion. Manju stream, master of stainless wisdom, Lord of secrets, destroyer of the entire host of Maras, Tsongkhapa, crown ornament of the sages of the land of snow, Lo Sangdrakpa, at your holy feet, I make request. Let's try it once in the Tibetan. Zigme Tsewe Turchin Shenrei Zig, Dreame Kempe Wampo Jampa Liang, Tupu Malu Jamze Sangwe Dag, Ganchen Kepe Tsugen Songkapa, Lozan Drabe Zabla So Wa De. And then I'm going to discuss next week the 7 wisdoms. So the simple way I just described tonight, tubes of light, and then coming down directly through your crown, purifying nectar coming down, washing everything out. And then what we would do is go further on. And there's different wisdoms you can absorb. I'm going to talk about that. It's very profound. It's beautiful with different visualizations. And then here's a request. May my wisdoms of listening, reflecting, and meditating increase. May my wisdoms of explaining, debating, and composing develop. May I be granted the supreme and common realizations. Please bless me to quickly become like you. Well, that sounds pretty good, right? Okay. That usually recited 3 times, but we're out of time, so I want to go on. Then there's some additional requests you can say. And here is the Lam Rim prayer, the foundation of all good qualities, snuck in there. Okay. So again, it's always about please incorporate Lam Rim meditation into these practices. It's really the best way to do it. It's really the best way. This is the thing that Westerners are skipping, that Easterners are skipping, okay? That Middle Easterners are skipping, right? That just people, people say, okay, if I'm doing a death meditation, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die. Okay, I got it. You have to stay there over and over. You have to learn the Lam Rim, understand the significance. What am I meditating on? That's why I gave you the guidance on that sheet. Like, get familiar with it. It's up to you whether you want to engage like this, but this is what frees your mind. This is what gives you all the tools to balance your mind every day, to go through life more peaceful. People around us right now in the United States need your help, right? People always need your help. So be that resource, be that person, because you're balanced yourself. This practice really does it. This is also that mantra and Lama Tsongkhapa. This is an anti-insanity mantra.
Mhm.
He really helps with that. I've heard Rinpoche give this to students that were mentally unbalanced. This is the one. Ask him for help. You know, we've gone through all kinds of things in life, and sometimes you're just feeling really lost, really unbalanced, really depressed. Talk to him. People pay a lot for therapy. They go to all different kinds of therapists and counselors. Nothing wrong with that. They take medication, right? Talk to him. Don't forget that phase. The other things can be helpful to get some professional help if you really need it. Okay, but you also need to work with some internal mechanism. That's where it's coming from. It's coming from your mind. It's not out there. It's not because your father abused you and your mother hated you and you never knew this person. It's not because of those things. You set something up in your mind, Tibetan Buddhism says, okay, that creates a situation for you. So dismantle the cause in your mind, and your external reality will become glorious. And this is one of the practices that really helps. So this is the Lamrim prayer, okay? And we'll just finish in a moment. I'll see if there's any questions. And we'll make time in the next session to do that. Then there's requests for the Lama to abide at my heart. Very powerful, these prayers. They come at the end. So you'd have your mantras and say your thing, meditate on the Lamrim. And now, magnificent and precious root Guru, please abide on the lotus and moon at my heart. Guide me with your great kindness and grant me the realizations of your holy body, speech, and mind. And again, magnificent and precious root Guru, please abide on the lotus and moon at my heart. Guide me with your great kindness and grant me the supreme and common realizations. We want that. We really want that. And here's the third one. It's always helpful to make 3 requests. Magnificent and precious root Guru, please abide on the lotus and moon at my heart. Guide me with your great kindness and remain steadfast until I attain the essence of enlightenment. Okay, and then you want to feel Lama Tsongkhapa over your crown. Okay, 2 disciples that absorb into his heart, and he absorbs from the edges of that visualization, along with the thrones, lions, everybody, into the center of that visualization, into a radiant golden drop of light. That's Buddha, Lama Tsongkhapa, right? Guru, all are one. All are one in that golden drop light melts into your crown. Just feel that for a moment. Just imagine, feel the blessings for your body, speech, and mind. Completely entering your heart. You're inseparable. And then the dedication prayers. Let's just recite these. By the force of the victorious one, Tsongkhapa, acting as my direct Mahayana virtuous friend in all my lives, may I never turn away for even a second from the pure path highly admired by the victorious ones. May I be able to live a life of pure morality, listen to many teachings, train in bodhicitta, and have pure view and conduct without corrupting the teachings of Losang Drakpa, the second victorious one. Glorious Guru, whatever your holy body, retinue, lifespan, and realm, whatever your supreme and beneficial holy name, may I and others become exactly like that. Due to the 3 times merits collected by me, the numberless Buddhas, the numberless sentient beings, may I, my family members, all those sentient beings who rely upon me, all those for whom I promise to pray, all those whose names have been given to me, all the students, benefactors, and volunteers in the FPMT organization, and all other sentient beings be able to meet perfectly qualified Mahayana virtuous friends in all our future lives. From our side, may we always see them as enlightened. May we always do only actions most pleasing to their holy minds, and may we always fulfill their holy wishes instantly. And so we'll do the short, long life prayer for this prayer for His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Incomparably kind and supreme Tenzin Gyatso, the wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, may you have a long life and all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. So we're a little over time. I just want to ask if there's one or two questions, anything about what we're talking about with this practice. Everybody doing okay, or Sheil?
Hello, Venerable. I just wanted to clarify. I'm having a hard time with like visualization of what we're just talking about. Am I supposed to be seeing Lama Tsongkhapa like as a human being, like a real person, or like a statue? Like, does it
So
matter?
you should make him, it's better to make them come alive for you. The realer you can, these are the people you want to consult with, like they're your virtuous friends. I think that's much better. Yeah,
Mm, okay.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
I think that's really helpful. Yeah, and I'll give you an example is, so when my first solo retreat was a Nundro, Lama Zopa Rinpoche. I wanted to get started on these. I heard about these Nundro. I had some, obviously from past life I wanted to do. So I had the good fortune to talk to Lama Zopa Rinpoche. I was already overseas in India, and I had some feeling to go to this remote retreat place in Nepal called Laudo. I had a strong connection, but I'd never been there. It's very far. It was very primitive at the time. He suggested I do offer water bowls as my first Nundro. So there were no booklets of how to do anything. And he told me to consult with a friend, an American guy who was a monk at the time, of how to do the Nundro that he had done some up in that region. And when I went to talk to this friend, who became a friend of mine at that point, the first thing he said to me is, he told you to do water bowls at Laudo? And I said, yes. And then he said, there's no water there. That was the beginning. So again, the harder you work on your Nundro, the more you can purify. If you can, but when I was up there and I visualized my Lama Tsongkhapa merit field, because I was doing another practice that Rinpoche had taught us before that. So I was ready. I had this more elaborate merit field, a field I could accumulate merit, but lamas, different lamas, my teachers, different things like that. You can put anybody in there you like that you feel is inspiring and enlightened. And Laudo at the time was very primitive, no electricity, no running water, very, very hard to live there, outhouses and minimal mattresses with rampant with fleas and just potatoes to eat. That was basically it. And but Rinpoche was from that region. His mother and his sister lived there at the time. It was a very holy place, incredible place. I did the water bowls, and it was so hard for me, and my mind was just, it was first solo time alone there. I was just kind of crazy part of the time. And I visualized this merit field, and in the freezing cold that it was there, they all had like mufflers around their neck and ski caps, and it was like His Holiness and Rinpoche and all my lamas, and occasionally I'd make them come to life, and His Holiness would lean over to Rinpoche and say, sometimes, she offers really nice water bowls. And it kept me going. It was my mind, wasn't, but it was just something that came out of my mind that just helped it to lift up my mind. So make it real, make it fun. Have joy in the practice. Don't make it drudgery for yourself. Use humor and make it fun for yourself. So people said to me many times, I've been at Laudo on my birthday. In the old days, nobody knew about birthday, the Sherpas. They didn't celebrate birthdays. Now they do, but not so much then. And there were only 4 people living there. I wasn't going to tell them, by the way, my birthday's coming, making the cake. They had no way of making a cake. It wasn't even a concept to them. So I just was alone in my practice. People said, you were alone on your birthday? I said, I had my whole merit field saying happy birthday to me. I wasn't alone. You're never alone. Once you visualize, you're never alone again. It becomes a real resource for you. For your practice, the more familiar you get with these beings, they really help you. Call on them. I had so many obstacles to the water. So I was advised to bring up a plastic pipe, and we ran 100 meters of plastic pipe. We ran from another spring, like a 20-minute walk away, and we ran the pipe. The people that live there helped me to the field, the little cabin I was living in. Ran the pipe and the water, and there were so many obstacles in the beginning. I had a plastic tap on it. There was no regulation of water pressure. So the tap would sometimes fly off. It hit me in the face many times doing it. The field flooded that I was in, little yard I was in flooded, and I didn't want to ruin my shoes. So I was barefoot in ice cold mountain water, 12 hours a day. So you go through things like this. It makes you stronger spiritually, can make you stronger. I was really set. I wanted to do this. And so again, use that as your resource. They're there to help you. So one Lama told me, Lama Zopa sent me this other Lama before I did the retreat. And I asked him, I was very nervous about doing this and going to Laudo. I was very afraid. And I said, will you pray for me? And he said, and this old Lama said, I'll pray for you. And he said through a translator. But then he said to me, you just pray to Tara, she'll help you. This Tara, this being. So I had a little context of Tara because I started my very first Dharma experience there at this center in India. And we had done some all-night Tara practices. So I memorized the praises to Tara. There's 21 Taras, and some of the centers do these they do pujas monthly. So I memorized this, and I would do these every day to help please clear obstacles to my completing the water bowl practice, that I needed the water. So please create that the water will continue to flow through this retreat. It took me 6 to 7 weeks full on to do it. I needed the water, and they had limited water up there. So every day I did these Tara praises. Okay. So then when I finished, when I decided I had done enough, it was like, I don't know, 140,000 bowls or something I offered. When I had finished and I felt completed, I had done what I was supposed to do. And the next day the water finished. So I kind of thought that was a little extraordinary, but I was like, oh, well, I don't know. It's kind of the time of the year maybe. But when I finally went down to the kitchen where Rinpoche's sister was, Annie Nawang Samden, she's a nun. She's in her 80s now. She's really a holy being. And when I went down and explained, and she knew what I was doing up there, and she was incredibly supportive. They delivered food to me, because I didn't want to be around anybody. And then she started telling everybody that came in the kitchen, and different retreaters were there, and it was the trekking season. And she started saying to people in her broken English, she finished the water bowls, then the water finished. She finished, the next day water finished. Like so then I started thinking, maybe there's something to Tara. Like maybe so you deepen your faith. So some of you might think, well, this is really weird. Like, I don't know what she's talking, but this is what, like, I thought it was weird as well. And then I just started having more faith that these deities exist if you want to get in touch with them. Highly realized beings see Tara there. They see a living Tara there. Okay. So your mind can be different and your entire external reality can be different. You just see kind of a dance of light and all these people going around grabbing onto stuff that's not going to bring them happiness. Right? So something to think about. So I'm sorry, we're over time. Anyone else last questions? Everybody okay? Okay. Am I making sense? People okay? Okay.
Yes.
So thank you. Thank you for joining. We're gonna finish there. We did some dedication prayers. I'd also like to dedicate to Lama Zopa Rinpoche returning to us in the most optimal rebirth. Okay. To be able to fill the shoe's entirety, resume his position as the spiritual director of the FPMT, for all the wars over the planet to be ended immediately, completely, for all the suffering beings to have whatever they need to alleviate their suffering completely, and for the flourishing of all of our centers, especially Thubten Kunga Center, and for harmony at and among all of our centers. Thank you so much. So again, what I would really ask you to do is please download the text. Look on the sheet. If Anthony or Don can send that out to people, download, or can you send them the Lama Tsongkhapa text?
If they'd like
And
to, Venerable Amy, if they could
yes.
email me, I'll send it right back to them. It's don@thubtenkungaling.org.
Okay, but do you have the emails of everybody that signed up for the class?
I can get access to it, yes.
Okay, because I just thought, make sure that everybody, and that way, if they can get that, please have a look at this. Try to go through it this week. Try to just start verse by verse, understanding a little bit, because it's fresh in your mind right now from what I'm talking about. Try to go a little bit through the mantra, the 5-line mantra. Just get a little familiar. You can say it in English. You can do it all in English. Try a little bit in the Tibetan, but go through the practices. Read the Lam Rim prayer. Read it at least once this week, if not every day. Read it once this week. at that list. Is that okay? Everybody, a little bit of homework to try, and then next week we're going to do a little bit more quickly. Okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Venerable Amy.
Thank you very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you guys want Don to email you, we can, put your emails down. And then he can email.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, sorry. Which one is one of these?
Yes.
Oh, okay, right?
Yes.